It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott is here. We're going to talk about the T-Mobile acquisition by AT&T. We're going to talk about Windows Phone 7, the new IE9, and Firefox 4. Lots to say. Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 201, recorded Friday, March 25th, 2011. The kids will love it. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and management that's simple. For Hover's transfer concierge service, free for our audience, go to windows.hover.com. And by Go to Assist Express. If you're in tech support, solve problems fast with a leader in remote support software. Go to Assist Express. For a free 30-day trial, visit gotoassist.com/windows. And by FreshBooks, the easy online invoicing service that gets you paid quickly and makes you look more professional. Get started now with a free package at freshbooks.com. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that gives you all the information you'd like to know about Microsoft. Those folks in Redmond, those wacky, wild folks in Redmond, and who better to fill us in than a man who's spent his life observing from afar,
distressing over,
obsessing over Microsoft, the Mr. Paul Thurrott, the editor-in-chief of the SuperSite for Windows, winsupersite.com, news editor for Windows IT Pro, analyst for Penton Media, and the author of many fine books, including The Great Windows Phone Secrets. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our master of ceremonies for this evening, Mr. Paul Thurrott.
Leo, there were two things I dreamt about this week. One was salads, weirdly, and the other one was Windows Phone software updates.
I dream of salad with the light brown hair. Why were you
sometimes
dreaming
you tell people about a dream and they say, wow, that's really weird.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then sometimes you have your own dream and you think, wow, that was weird.
Well, I could see why you'd be dreaming about Windows Phone updates because, frankly, that's been kind of your obsession.
It is an obsession.
Yeah.
I will admit that. I would like to think that I'm not obsessive and don't have an addictive personality, but
I think we could see that.
This has
you were able to get off the crack
obsession
very easily. But well, you know why it's an obsession? Because you wrote, by the way, the crack about crack, that was just a joke.
The crack about crack?
I was just
but
joking. You missed it. You missed it. Yeah.
Did you just say it?
Yeah.
I think I'm blacking out for short periods. So I might hear.
Paul's just back from France.
I might hear like every third word or something.
Paul's just back from France where you had a lovely week, I understand. Were you in the big city?
No, well, no, I was outside of Toulouse visiting with friends.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think that sounds like a lovely week. I hope you're rested, relaxed, and ready to take on once again the dragon from Redmond.
Let's see, rested, something, and relaxed. What was the other word?
Ready. Ready.
I'm the opposite of whatever that was.
He's unready. So this has become kind of a continuing saga. Windows Phone 7. Let's just.
I will say this. Finally, other people are starting to notice. I felt like, I've often talked of this reviewers workshop. I would remind people that I was one of maybe 20 or more reviewers or bloggers or whatever these people were in the room. I wasn't the only one there. And I've heard, not that I've really looked hard, but I don't recall any of these other people writing about this in the ways that I have, which I find somewhat distressing. But now, as this Windows Phone software update thing has gone on and on and on, finally, I'm starting to see other people saying, these people are really blowing it. These people being Microsoft or the Windows Phone team, like this has reached ludicrous proportions. So it's nice to finally see the rest of the world catch up on this particular topic. But whatever. I think just to get this off on maybe more of a positive note, I will say that in the past week, a couple of things have happened, not all of which are negative. So Microsoft did finally detail what's coming in this first real update, right? Because there's a pre-update, or what they're now calling the February update. A pre-update, by the way, that the majority of Windows Phone users still do not have here a week away from April. And then there's a second update, what I call the real update, the March 2011 update.
Well, that's
update,
this month.
Yeah, that update's it's a minor update in the scheme of things, but it does add some features. And we knew ahead of time that this thing would include copy and paste, which for some reason a lot of people have been waiting for, faster app and game performance, which is important, absolutely, and then better marketplace search, which is great. But they've also highlighted some other areas, vaguely in some ways, that are being improved in this release. It's not a lot of the bugs that we know about or the missing features, but there is some other stuff that is being added in this update. So this is actually new information. So that's nice. So there's some stuff, and none of it's particularly notable. So, some improvements with the way Wi-Fi works. There's some improvements with the way ActiveSync works when you hit an Exchange server, especially older versions of Exchange. Things like that. Some camera improvements, but not the one everyone wants, which is the ability of the camera app to actually remember settings, which would be really nice. But okay. So there's that. So when Microsoft posted that the other day, I think about 3 days ago, it was pretty clear. They had promised, their most recent promise for this update is that it would happen in the second half of March. We're in the second half of March. It must be coming any day now.
Yeah, because, it's the 25th as we record.
Yeah,
this.
so finally some people have gotten it. So they did start deploying it. But, and then this is when the ludicrous part ended or happened. And of course, the morning that I'm flying home from France, I find out about this, and what I have to do is sort of write about it. I'm trying not to be a jerk, but it's so ludicrous what they've done, and I have to post something about it and then not be able to respond to comments for a long, long time. So there were 50 comments on my blog post when I got home. But what they basically did was they posted a blog post explaining that they have in fact started sending this update out, but only to what they call open market Windows phones. So if you think about an unlocked phone, there's a further subset of unlocked phones that are called open market phones.
Oh.
So it's a really small group that's getting this. And then they posted what they called a schedule for when everyone else would get it. And this schedule says absolutely nothing. And it is embarrassing. I mean, I just don't know how else to say it. It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Have you seen this page that they put up?
No. What's the URL?
It's hard to...
It's probably long...
Yeah, can I paste it into Skype? Will you see that?
No, I can't. But Windows Phone 7 update at Microsoft.com. That's probably do it, right?
No, it's Microsoft.com/Windows Phone, all one word, /en-us.
Oh, no, just stop right there. I'm just going to Google it.
Okay.
I got it.
Actually,
you know what? I Googled Windows Phone 7 update, site:/Microsoft.com.
Yep.
And the very first thing says, what's next?
Yeah, but that's not the page.
Oh, crap.
So there's a page they have it's called Where's My Phone Update?
Paul Thurrott. I bet you it says that in the HTML underlying. Paul Thurrott.
They should have a special, they should have my name in the beautiful chart they've created.
I'm going to click the Windows Phone newsroom link.
Nope, that's not it.
You'd think they'd put that there because that's like where you'd get news for it.
See, I wouldn't think that because I know how these guys work. So here, do this. Go to Windows Phone Secrets.
Yeah.
.com.
Yeah. Oh, you have a site called WindowsPhoneSecrets.com.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I didn't. That's like the companion to the book.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Let's go right there. Right.
In the first article, if you scroll down,
okay,
you'll see a link.
Communicated.
No, not that. Go down further.
Yeah.
And there's a link under Where's My Phone Update.
There it is. I see it here.
That's it.
Where's My Phone Update.com. They should have gotten Where's My Phone Update.com. They didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll get that.
Yeah.
So now click on the United States because this is the really funny
that's
one.
us. Okay. Yeah. If you're international listeners, click international. Stage 1, testing.
Now, tell me, please, dear God, tell me, when am I going to get this update?
Let's see. The Dell Venue Pro is scheduling. HTC Arrive not applicable. HD7 scheduling. Surround testing. Quantum testing. Focus. That's the one I have. Testing.
testing.
We're testing.
So the update that Microsoft completed in December
That's stage 1.
is still being tested by the mobile operator selling those phones. That mobile operator being, of course,
Samsung.
AT&T.
Oh, AT&T.
AT&T, who is, of course, by the way, remember,
busy.
the premier partner for Microsoft for
They're
the
busy
Windows
right
Phone
now.
launch.
No, they got other stuff they're worried about.
So, in other words, let me get this straight.
They're busy.
I bought the best Windows Phone you can get, the Samsung Focus, from the premier partner
Yeah.
that Microsoft over a year ago explained was the premier partner.
Yeah.
I did it the right way.
You did.
Through a carrier. Right? Didn't go out on the open market and spend, and do it without a carrier. I did it through the carrier.
Right.
And now as a bonus or a benefit of this, this company is still testing this update. Not blocking the update, mind you, because we can't use that word. They're not blocking anything, but you're not getting it.
They're not getting it. We can't say blocking. Now,
in other words,
I just noticed, though.
AT&T's not blocking the update, but they are preventing me from getting it because they're still testing it.
Right. I do notice that if you're in Australia or Canada or France or Ireland, Italy, Mexico,
a lot of those
Singapore,
guys are getting it.
They're all,
with 10 days.
Yeah. Soon.
So the vast majority of
look who's getting it. Open market phones.
open market phones.
That's the only one getting it right now. You said those are the ones that are unlocked, just not.
Well, this is Microsoft's description. In other words, let me see if I can find it. It's so hard to figure out what that is. An open market phone is, actually, we don't know. They're unbranded device. No, these are unbranded devices that aren't customized for a specific mobile operator. They're sort of like unlocked phones. I don't know. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're apparently, I don't know.
They're phones. You hit the nail on the head. Look, I'll say it. I know you can't. I'll say it. They're phones that are not tied to a carrier, so Microsoft can push this out and will push this out, but AT&T has to test it.
It's almost like if you were to go through a carrier, which, by the way, I want to reiterate, 99.9% of customers would do.
Of course, because that's the right way.
It's almost like there's something preventing it from reaching you.
That's
between you and Microsoft.
What could it be? There's a Microsoft, then the phone, and then there's something in between.
Yeah.
Whatever that is like a brick wall.
It's like a wall or a.
Yeah.
They put cones up and they prevent you from driving.
Wall with a big A, T, and T on it.
The thing, so this blog post is hilarious because, and it's so typical now these days. They explain that this process that they go through to deliver this update to users is a lot like when you buy a new PC online, and you can go to the site like you buy it from Dell, and it says now it's in receiving, and now it's here, and now it's which is cute. Except that really this process should be like when you get, say, a software update on a Windows PC, not when you buy a Windows PC. Because it is the same kind of process. It's just that in the case of a PC, they go right to you, and in the case of Windows Phone, they don't.
Right.
So, anyway, I feel like I've beaten this to death. I will just say simply this. So, as I noted previously, finally other people are starting to complain about this, other than me. I feel like I've been the only one. I don't, as far as reporters or analysts or bloggers or whatever. So, Nick Eaton, very credible guy from Cell at PI, referred to this as fail, simply fail. That
simply fail.
Said, the blog post is rambling, and Microsoft doesn't give any guidance. Matt Rostoff,
you've been saying this for
thing.
So long.
Useless.
A voice in the wilderness.
Yeah, I just feel, it's unbelievable. The whole thing's unbelievable. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But it's they released it, so I guess all I can say is winning.
Winning.
That's what
Tiger's blood.
Winning.
All right, we're gonna let Paul breathe some fresh air. The fresh air of Dedham. Inhale, breathe deep, Paul.
Dedham, yeah.
You're back. You're back among your people. And it's okay. We embrace you for who and what you are.
Wow.
But meanwhile, take a break. Enjoy. Relax. While I tell the kids about Go to Assist Express. We're all in support. Of course, anybody who listens to this show is in support. Why? Because everybody knows you understand technology, and they don't, so they go to you. Some of you actually do this for a living, you poor souls. You poor saps. You actually... it can be very satisfying when something's fixed, but it can also be very frustrating when you're on the phone with your client. You're saying, okay, click start. Okay. You don't have run in the start menu. Okay. Right-click on the taskbar. Taskbar. That's that thing at the bottom. The gray, taskbar. No, it's, hours of this. It's painful. When if you could just, reach your hands out through the phone and you could do this in seconds. That's where GoToAssist comes in. GoToAssist Express literally lets you reach into your client's computers, fix the problem, and move on. It'll make you more effective. We all have remote support tools in our toolbox. There's some free ones, I know. This is so much better. Not free. Well, free for 30 days. So you be the judge. I think if this is your business, it's worth spending a little money to get the best, the fastest, the most secure, the most reliable, and all those additional features. Things like 8 sessions simultaneously. If you're in this business, that's a godsend because you could start a scan, start an install, and can move on and get a lot more done. That's one of the ways you improve your productivity. It also will tell you exactly what operating system, what security, what's running in the background, so you know. You have a chat window open so you can talk to your client. This is maybe the most important thing, at least to my mind. It's really easy for your clients. They don't have to have it installed ahead of time. You just give them a link to the GoToAssist site. They click it. They allow, or a permit or whatever, the Java thing to run. And 30 seconds later, you're done and you're in. No IT support needed from them. They don't need to get a firewall exception or anything like that. It just works. Built-in NAT traversal, so it's flawless and fast and easy. Unattended to support too, if your clients allow that, which means you don't have to wait till they show up. You could just get the thing done and get moving. This will, I'm telling you, make you more efficient. It's one of the reasons Frost & Sullivan, which specializes in this sector, said that this is the worldwide market leader in remote support. Sure, there are other choices. This is the one I use. This is the one I encourage you to use. GoToAssist.com/Windows. Go there right now. Try it free for 30 days. GoToAssist. GoToAssist.com/Windows. True geeks use GoToAssist Express. Give it a try. I think you'll like it. Paul, you feeling a little better now?
No. Lucky I didn't pass out.
You took a little nap. So let's talk about the App Store because Amazon is kind of, first of all, they've really ticked off Apple. This is going to be an interesting
because of the name, you mean?
Yeah. Well, Apple's suing them, saying we own App Store, but Apple. Steve Gibson told me
about
this.
That.
Yeah, Steve Gibson told me this. Apple did not get the trademark initially for App Store because it was
too generic.
The court said it's descriptive. It's not a trademark.
I agree with Apple that App Space Store and App Store, all one word, are not necessarily different enough.
Right.
But on the other hand, they are calling it App Store for Android. And that's very descriptive, actually.
And Apple can't say they own the word app.
Sure.
We've had apps since Lotus, VisiCalc. That was the killer app for Apple, too. That was the first app. So we've had apps for a while.
I mean, honestly, the name of this thing doesn't mean much. In the scope of things. I mean, who cares? Even if Apple wins and they have to rename it, whatever.
Big deal, right?
This is an important event, and while I guess on the surface of things, it doesn't impact Windows users directly. I make no mistake. I mean, this is a big thing. One of the problems with any platform is the supporting ecosystem, and as I wrote in my article about this, Windows is a platform. But when I write a book like Windows 7 Secrets, or I do my website, SuperSite for Windows, I don't just write about Windows, right? I write about the whole thing around it, because when somebody buys a computer, they're not buying it to run Windows. They're buying it to run all this other stuff. They're doing it because they perceive some benefit of Windows that is much more than Windows. And it's not just obvious things like Windows Live Essentials or whatever. There's an entire supporting ecosystem. It's true of the Apple devices, of course, the iPod and the iPhone, especially with all the hardware and the iTunes ecosystem, the iBooks, and all the stuff that goes into it. You're not just buying that thing; you're buying into a system. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why these emerging platforms face some challenges. WebOS, especially Windows Phone. There is not a big ecosystem around a new platform. Right. And it's very difficult to catch up. Impossible, I would say, in many cases, because even Microsoft, as powerful as it is never going to have anything that approaches iTunes. Yes, they have TV shows and movies to buy and rent. Yes, they have podcasts, and yes, they have this and that, but they'll never really catch up. And there's no real benefit to Microsoft, no real, I should say, direct benefit to catch up because the cost is so great to get there. And so that's why, you know, I'm a little, I don't mean to be down on something like, say, the WebOS, which I think is great, but you just have to look at HP and their history and then understand how these ecosystems work. You think there is so much ground to make up. It's not enough for that device or those devices to be as good as the devices they compete with. It's not enough for the operating system to be as good or better. There's all this other stuff. Now, when you look at Android versus iPhone as the two primary smartphone platforms in the world, you know, I would argue and have argued that iPhone is superior, if you will, purely from the experience standpoint, you know, for a user, which is the important way to look at it. In other words, Android is outselling iPhone, but the reason Android is outselling iPhone is because of the pure amount of choice, right? And if you're looking for a very specific feature, you're going to get it on Android first many times, simply because Apple releases one new phone every year. That's it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and if you look at Android, I mean, if you were to look at Android between the release of iPhone 4 and whenever iPhone 5 comes out, I guarantee you there are something like 50 new handsets that have come out, or whatever it is in that time period, a many great number of handsets. So as of today, as of this second, if you wanted to buy a phone that worked on a 4G network, you know, Android is your only choice. But that's a very general statement. But the real choice is you have basically one phone, you know, one handset or whatever, you know, maybe some small number of handsets over time. So there's that. I mean, but when I think of, you know, Android versus iPhone personally, or from a user standpoint, Android falls short in two key areas. And I complained about one of these, you know, when I reviewed the Droid X last summer, which was the marketplace is ludicrous on Android. And I have no idea how Google, with any credibility, could offer up such a gross piece of crap as the Google marketplace. It's awful. The Android marketplace is terrible. The other one is digital media, which that hasn't been solved. But I wonder now if there isn't a solution coming for that.
There's a ton of solutions, third-party
But that's
solutions.
the problem. Because consumers don't want a ton
issue.
of solutions.
Right.
This is it's like Unix or Linux or something. You know, we don't want that. We want, you know, what you need is an iTunes for Android or whatever. You know, Microsoft at least has Zune for Windows Phone. You know, they recognize the need for a single you know, thing for that stuff. And
you know, the truth is there certainly are iTunes for Windows. There's Double Twist, which is free, and it's not. But it's not from Google. And it's not from anybody. And that's the problem. Is
no.
There's choice. There's a variety.
I don't mean player. I mean the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, the entire ecosystem.
The marketplace. The whole thing.
Essentially the entire ecosystem is there with Double Twist. You run Double Twist on your desktop, Windows or Mac. It will sync with your phone. You can install apps from it.
But it's not really there because
you can't buy stuff directly.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
You have to go through Amazon.
I just flew to France, and I fly home from France. Now, while I'm in France, I want to put some more movies on my iPad. I can, right from the device, I can navigate to the iTunes store, rent them, download them. I watch them on the way home, which is exactly what I did. You cannot do that on Android. It's important. You know, that's what, until they have something, even if it's inferior, which it will have to be, they can't really stand neck and neck with the iPhone for most people. Obviously, to some people just don't want Apple. Some people have whatever they want. They like that open nature. It's completely understandable.
I'm very happy with Android and far prefer it.
Yeah, no,
I'm a geek, so that's me.
Right, and I'm not diminishing you for your choice. I don't mean it like that. I just mean for the general consumer.
No, I agree.
Generally speaking, you know, it's a simple equation.
It's off-putting.
So what Amazon has done this week is basically remove one of those two problems. Yeah, there is nobody that gets retailing like Amazon. Well, with the possible exception of Apple, by the way. And when you look at an account where you can buy things through it, I mean, there are two big ones in the world. And one of them, of course, is the iTunes account that people have. And the other one is Amazon. And they've done this sort of quietly, but Amazon has created this thing where you sort of look at them as like the Walmart of the web almost, but they have all this other stuff going on. So, for example, they obviously have the Kindle platform with all the different devices you can download the books to and auto-syncing and all that, which is awesome. They have the ability to buy video games, not in a box that ships to your house, although they do that as well, but rather download them to your computer. And then now that's attached to that account as well. Obviously, they have the music. They also have the video, TV rentals and purchases and movies and all that stuff. They do it all. So by adding the Android app store that they have to this mix, they have both made Android better and made their account more valuable. that account. That Amazon account becomes even more valuable. And now from the web, what you can do is browse a nice store that has curated choices. There's still some junk in there, by the way. And by junk, I mean stuff like adult apps and things. I actually did see some crazy stuff
in the
there,
Amazon store, really?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Interesting.
But it's now, instead of, unlike on the PC or the Mac before the app, Apple's Mac App Store, you're not buying a piece of software for a device or a PC or Mac or whatever. You're buying it for you. It's attached to your account, i.e. to you. So now you can, if you change phones, you install this app and you get a list of all those things you've installed, you check them off and they all install and you're good to go. It's a nice system. So they've taken something that was really horrible on Android and made it really, really nice. And this is a big deal because, again, for these emerging platforms like Windows Phone, WebOS, they already had a hard enough time kind of catching up. And now you've got this other, it's funny, it's not from Google, right? It's because of the open nature of Android and the way Google does things, it's enabled a third party to solve this problem in a very elegant way. And what a great choice because, again, Amazon really gets retailing. This thing is a big deal. It's a really big deal, and I don't think
I'd love to see maybe this is next as Amazon does an iTunes-like app. I'm looking at Double Twist.
Exactly,
I could buy music in it from the Amazon store, but not TV and movies.
No, but that's MP3, right? Of course, because that's the thing, and because obviously movie and TV content
you have to have copy protection.
Is copy protected,
and you know what? That's going to be the issue on Android.
Now, of course, there are people listening to this who say, "Well, I never want to buy a TV show or movie, so what you just said is false." It doesn't make what I said wrong. It just means it's wrong for you. The
Right.
point is there is choice, and everyone has different needs. And there are some people who would say, "Look, I'm never going to watch a movie on my phone. That's ludicrous," But it sort of is ludicrous. But remember, on the Apple side, you also have these other devices, iPod Touches and iPads. That account, the iTunes Store account, is not tied to your iPhone. It goes to all these other devices. So this is something that can happen on the Google side because, of course, they have tablets coming, the tablet OS in Honeycomb. Android, if you look at Amazon's App Store materials, they talk very specifically about tablets, although I don't think there are any tablet-specific apps in there yet. But I do have to wonder, isn't Amazon, they must be working on getting their content onto these devices as well. And that kind of does solve the problem. They may be the only company that can offer an alternative to iTunes that's viable, because they have the selection. And I think that would pretty much equal it out. And when you consider that Amazon is already outselling the iPhone, I don't mean to say it's game over. It's not like iPhone goes away, but I think that we've pretty much secured the positioning at that point, if that's what happens.
It's interesting. You've got a very good point. It's very intriguing.
But it kind of leaves everyone else out in the cold, and if...
I'll tell you, there's a reason for that. What you're describing is something that only big companies in partnership with big content creators can do because of copy protection and so forth. So what you've got on Android is the opposite of that, and I personally like it, which is a variety of choice, but they're not playing ball with Hollywood. Yeah. And so that's the choice. And so you are going to have, if you want an iTunes model you're going to have an Amazon or somebody. It's going to be big players because Hollywood's not going to do a deal with 100 little players or do a deal with Android at all.
No, you're right. And I'll give you this is kind of an off the target, example. It's off on the side, but think about something like podcasts, right? There's no money to be made from podcasts when you're Apple, right, or Microsoft or Google. In other words, they add support for this stuff to their platforms, but what's the payoff, right? There is no direct payoff. So podcast becomes sort of an item on a bullet list. It's yes, we support that too. They can say they support it. When you look at a platform like Windows Phone, which again is immature, it just came out, it's brand new. It has incomplete support for podcasts. One of the issues with Windows Phone is that you can, by tethering the phone or by connecting the phone to your PC, you can download podcasts to your PC, you can sync them to the device. But what it doesn't have is over-the-air updating a podcast or downloading a podcast.
And Android does have that. Yeah.
It does. I don't know.
It does. Double twist AirSync, baby. That's what I love.
No. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm saying I don't know. I just don't.
Well, I'll tell you it does. But it's something that only the Windows Phone and the Android phones do because Apple doesn't want that.
Okay. So, but my point is simply this. People who like podcasts and want to use Windows Phone
Want that.
want Microsoft to offer this feature.
Right.
The problem is Microsoft has a list of hundreds of items that need to be added to Windows Phone or fixed in Windows Phone. So where's the emphasis here? You know, when would you fix podcasts on Windows Phone? Would you do it quick or would you do it later? Because there's no direct payback for doing it, you have to think this thing keeps getting bumped down to the bottom. Because from Microsoft's perspective, as big and powerful as it is, you know, there's no money to be made from this. I mean, they can already claim to support podcasts, so sorry. I mean, that's the solution.
Right.
Or audiobooks. You know, the basic answer there is, well, Microsoft can't implement Audible support, so we'll have to wait to see if Audible does it. And the way Audible has been doing things lately is not to do the side-loading stuff anymore, which is great because that application was terrible. But they have wonderful mobile apps for iOS and Android and probably for BlackBerry and other platforms that have a central location to manage your podcast, your audiobooks, and download them and then listen to them and so forth. Very nice apps. But unfortunately, on Windows Phone, it's not available yet. It may never be available. I don't know. Who knows? There's been some conflicting information there. So it's just another situation where you sort of have to wait. And these are sort of side examples and small examples, but they're examples of when you're not one of the major platforms. These are some of the pitfalls. So WebOS is coming out. You know, does WebOS have an Audible app? Does what's the WebOS podcasting picture look like? I don't know. I don't know. But those are just small issues. What about the big issues? You know, like the iTunes Store stuff. There's a lot of stuff that has to be overcome before you become a viable player. You know, so Amazon. I guess the short version simply is that Amazon just made Android a lot better, and Android was already winning. It's very interesting.
Right. I would love to see. You're right. I would love to see. You know, there's Rdio. Do you ever use Rdio? Rdio is a $10 a month subscription service.
Like radio. You mean
it's radio without the A.
Yeah.
And it's like the Zune Pass in the sense that you have that variety of choices. You don't get 10 free songs a month, so it's more expensive. It's just $10. But as long as you keep paying the $10, you have the same kind of selection. It works on Android, works on iPhone, works on your desktop. So there are some choices there.
Oh no, I don't get me wrong. I don't mean to say there aren't choices. It's just that
but Hollywood isn't there.
People make bets, even though they don't think about it like this.
No, I agree.
People make bets on platforms and ecosystems. Yep. You know, for example, I just saw today, I haven't tried it yet, but Rhapsody is now available on Windows Phone. Rhapsody is also available on iOS, as you know. So if you are a Rhapsody subscriber and you like Rhapsody, your choices are now greater, and you're more inclined to stick with the service because it's available in so many different places. One of the big mistakes I think Microsoft has made with Zune is not making that thing available as an app on iOS, on Android, put it everywhere. You know, there's no client for the Mac and so forth. This is something that they offer what I think is actually a superior service for music subscriptions, but it's only available on Windows, only available on Windows Phone. And the Zune HD, which of course is just in limbo. So, and it's on the Xbox 360. It's only available on Microsoft's products. So this is something that could have had far greater reach if they had spent the time and made the investment to do that. And that's just not how they're doing things right now. And I'm just curious how far they have to fall before they figure that out.
We shall see.
I love Zune. I wish they had, I'd love to be able to get, Zune Pass on an iPod Touch. Why not? Why, Leo? Why?
Because
Why?
It's Apple and Microsoft, and they are like oil and water.
I don't know. They shouldn't be. They're complementary.
At some point, they will. At some point, we will get to that point where both companies will say. The thing is, I'll be honest with you. I don't think the problem is Microsoft.
I don't know about this. So here's
I think
the
problem is Apple. Apple wants to own it all. They're not going to let Amazon do a store. They're not going to let.
There's no story about Microsoft creating Zune and Apple rejecting it. I mean, they've never done it. When Apple released iTunes for Windows, right? What would be the rationale for doing that? Well, I mean, honestly, think about it. Like, why would Apple release iTunes on Windows?
So that they can get the 95% of the world that uses Windows.
Right. Well, things have changed, Leo, and now 90-something% of the people with mobile phones are not using Windows.
Well, that's
They're
a good
using
point.
other
So
things.
if we don't care about desktops anymore, we don't really need Microsoft.
I'm just saying, just looking at this other market, why wouldn't Microsoft, using the same rationale, release their software and services on these other devices too? They put Bing on there, they put Windows Messenger on there, or whatever. I mean,
no, I'm not. I think Microsoft would do it. I think Apple would never let them do it. And without Apple's cooperation,
they put Rhapsody on there.
I know, and it was a shock that they did that. But I think Rhapsody is a little different than Microsoft Zune Marketplace.
I don't know. Zune Pass. I don't mean Zune Marketplace. I could understand Apple not allowing that, but
I think
Zune
any
Pass,
DRM content using anything but Apple's own iTunes Fair Play is
except
not going to happen.
that Rhapsody's on there. That has to be DRM'd.
Well, you don't know because with Rhapsody. Well, that's interesting. With Rhapsody, you don't put content on the phone. You're just playing it as a stream.
We're talking about these two enormous companies, right? Multiple billions of dollars per year. Do you think it's like they never talk? I mean, as antagonistic as they seem to be toward each other, Microsoft does make Mac Office. I mean, I almost picture that it just never occurred to anyone to actually have this conversation.
You know what the real play is going to be is if Microsoft doesn't get its stuff on Android soon, Apple will.
Well, by the way, yeah, wouldn't it be interesting, right? If iTunes,
iTunes for Android, baby,
right?
Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be fantastic. I would love to see something like that.
See, I guess my issue is, and I think this is the real issue, is that DRM content on Android is a little bit of a disconnect because Android's an open source operating system. So the content creators are not going to really let that happen. They're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Although you make a good point because somebody just told me now that Rhapsody will allow you to put content on there, as will Ardio. So you can actually download content so that when you're offline, you can continue to play it. That does mean there is some form of DRM in there. But it's only music. I think the music industry kind of gave up.
I look at it like Linux because I guess it is Linux. Linux is open source, sort of, but there's also proprietary stuff that you can get on there. And the major distributions.
You cannot legally play a DVD on Linux. You have to.
Okay.
You can't.
Well, no,
that's why DCSS was written.
Leo, I can't answer all the problems of the world in a.
Yes, you can, Paul. I count on you. That's what I need from you,
ideas.
Paul throws up ideas.
Throws up ideas, yeah.
And I'm the one who had it with the mop.
Sometimes they throw up into my mouth, and then I have to swallow them.
So as long as we're talking about lawsuits.
Yeah.
Now, this, I think, is really interesting. Microsoft's going after Barnes & Noble and the Nook, not because they don't like BNN or Nook, because they don't like Android. They're going after Android, saying it violates their patents.
Right.
Whoa.
So the Nook is essentially an Android device. It's a specialized Android device. Although I guess people are unlocking them, and it's an Android device, so you can run apps on it.
Yes, in fact, it's a very capable. You have to overclock it because they've underclocked it. But once you hack it and overclock it, it's
battery
a very
life reasons because they just don't need the performance.
I didn't know that, but somebody came up and showed me his Color Nook running Android. It looks great. It's great. It's a real Android tablet.
Yeah. There are rumors that Amazon is working on an Android version of the Kindle specifically to get that color screen, which I think would be a fantastic idea. And they have to think this App Store thing they're doing would play into that as well.
Yep.
And by the way, an Android tablet that was the size and shape of a Kindle would, I don't mean dream come true, but that would be awesome. I would really like to see something like that. I doubt it could be that thin, but
the Nook is.
The Nook is, but yeah.
This is why Microsoft. I'm sure this is why Microsoft went after them first. I'm sure they're going to go after Google at some point.
But. Well, so I wonder about this. I guess the big question is, Google makes this platform that apparently violates Microsoft patents, though that's never been tested by any court, of course.
Right. This will be the first.
Microsoft sues everyone but Google.
Of course.
Right. So why are they suing Google?
Well,
here's the thing. I have to honestly. It may be because Google isn't selling an Android device, right? I mean, they made it. They made Android. They basically give it away.
But they don't. You're right.
But they don't sell a device.
No.
And I think that might be why. I'm not a legal expert, Leo, but I play one on the podcast, and I'm guessing that's why. Because a lot of people are asking, why isn't Microsoft just suing Google? I mean, kind of cut the head of the snake off.
Maybe the lawyers. Who knows? There's all sorts of strategy. Maybe they want to get a decision in the Barnes and Noble case that will help them then go after Google.
let's say they go after Google and they win. I mean, what's the actual damage here? You have to, you're looking for a fee. You're looking for a licensing fee per unit. So Motorola is selling Android per unit. Samsung is. Apparently Barnes & Noble is. Well, there's your money.
Right.
That's the, Google is giving it away. I mean, what's 17% of zero? It's, what is it again?
Zero.
I mean, I think that's how that works.
Yeah. There's no money in it.
Right.
But they could put Android out of business if they could get an injunction saying you may not use Android. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing with Unix. So
I'm not clear on what these patents are exactly, but
I think it's the same ones they're going after with Unix.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to understand it.
It's nice. It's just nice to see Microsoft making money in a mobile market. I'm just glad they're winning.
So you have to listen to Security Now this week. Steve Gibson looks at IE9, gives it 2 thumbs up for its compatibility with web standards, for its security model, for its design. Okay. He says they've done a great job. This is a modern browser.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. So now it's in parity, I guess, with Chrome and Firefox. Firefox 4 came out this week.
Generally speaking, right? I mean,
sort of.
Yeah. I think Firefox 4. It's funny. I had to go back and look. I wrote a review that I haven't posted yet. I had to go back and look to see what I had reviewed for Firefox in the recent time, and I did actually write something up for 3.5 and 3.6, and then the last major release 3.0, which came out in 2008. It was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I would say that, and those releases were somewhat disappointing because they had big ideas around what they were going to do to support, like a Vista-style UI, which would have been very nice.
Yeah.
The glass stuff, which they never really implemented officially until now.
Right.
Kind of a modern UI and all that stuff. So the way I would put Firefox 4, and the way I did in this eventual review that I'll try to post today, is simply that this is Firefox keeping pace. Like IE9, it is a modern browser. There are some things in there that I don't agree with from sort of a UI perspective, and some things I actually really like. I'm a little confused why they still have this, the separate search box. Not that that's a huge, issue.
I sure don't understand that either.
I don't get it, But then I also have to say, one thing that even Chrome has not figured this out, and certainly IE is not even close, is there are 2 big areas where Firefox really wins. And the first one that the other ones haven't figured out is the customization of the UI. Firefox offers deep customization of not just the location and selection of buttons on the toolbars, but also they have maybe they have too much. They have themes and personas, and they have all this stuff. But you can make that thing look like whatever you want it to look like, and I actually think that's a big deal for some people. I think that will sell this free browser, to those people. They've also really done a nice job with, and of course, this was the historical strength of Firefox. All of the add-ons, the extensions, the browser toolbars. I mean, all the stuff you can add into the browser, and they've done a nice job in this version with the UI for that, where they're offering a way to browse the collection of add-ons from within the browser. Which before you would open a separate browser window and go to a web page. They're just kind of encapsulating that within the UI, which I think is really nice. It's old-fashioned, like you still have to reset the browser, to have some things take effect, unlike in Chrome, which I have to say I think is a big deal in Chrome. You can install something and it just works. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
You're booting of the browser. So the way I would say this, I guess, is it's if you are a Firefox user, this is a no-brainer, and there are a lot of those people. So this is a great update. It's a really major release. If you've pretty much settled on Chrome or even IE9 at this point, I don't know. I think most people listening to this podcast are going to have multiple browsers and should have multiple browsers installed. It's just a good policy. There's no reason not to have them on your hard drive.
I mean, it's free. Why not?
Yeah.
It doesn't clog anything
and some
up.
things look, there's a goofy thing going on these days, and I'm waiting for Chrome and Apple to follow suit. I know they will. Microsoft decided over the past year they were going to release this never-ending series of demos showing off how awesome IE9 was. And by the way, if you think about what's important in a demo, aside from just the pure eye candy stuff, right? it's not good enough that this thing looks awesome in IE9. It has to look like crap in every other browser.
Cool.
That is the point. So constructing these demos must be really hard. Benchmarks kind of work like this too, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So Mozilla made this site for the same thing, and I was amused. I would say Chrome usually runs these demos okay, but IE9 fails on all of them, and I know they were carefully constructed for this purpose.
Right.
People will make charts and have, I'm sure already, that, feature by feature. Here's where IE9 falls short. Here's where Firefox falls short, et cetera. And you can make it, it's like statistics. These demos are like statistics. You can prove anything you want. They're designed to send a message of a certain kind. And you can use the same, kind of material and construct something that makes someone look bad or look good or whatever, So anyway, I think Firefox 4 is a great update. And I don't know that it's enough to sway people who've already moved over to Chrome, for example, or people who have decided, who like IE and they have moved up to IE9, and like you said, it's a big deal. Like Steve Gibson said, it's a
modern browser. It's a modern browser. Finally,
what both Microsoft and I think they have done that, and Mozilla need to do is not be as crazy as Google in how quickly they release updates, but get faster. Don't think of these things as huge milestone releases, point really like 4.0, 3.0, but find a way to add features over time so that the browser gets more valuable over time hopefully without destroying compatibility. And you're able to release these things more quickly. Mozilla has a big problem in this area. Microsoft somewhat, I think, figured it out. During the development of IE9, the amount of positive feedback they got over time by adding features. They were even able to add some major features to the browser after the release candidate. I guess it would be with the release candidate, right before they released the final version of the browser. That's not the way Microsoft used to do things. So I'm happy to see that. I'd like to see Firefox do the same thing, and I think Mozilla has stated their intention to do something along those lines. To move a little more quickly along those lines.
Good.
It's a good update, though.
Good. I like it. And as you said, look, if you've got Windows, you have to have IE9 or IE installed. Might as well go to 9.
Yep.
Why not?
You might as well have them all. Maybe you never use Firefox, but every once in a while you'll hit a site. You can always tell, right? You hit some site and it doesn't work right.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, I know this is supposed to be doing something, playing a video or
it's great to have.
Whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, choice is good.
Great to have. All right, we're going to take a break, come back with more. The iTunes is now available. I'll tell you what that is. And I want to get Paul's impressions of the AT&T T-Mobile buyout. What he thinks that means for consumers is certainly the question everybody's asking. But before we do that, I want to tell you about our friends at hover.com. Boy, I get messages and tweets from people all the time. Just got a tweet this morning from somebody. I wish I could find. Maybe I'll find this here and read it to you. Who said, "Thank you, Leo, for telling me about hover.com and their great customer service. I just got off the phone and I couldn't be happier. People love hover.com. It's domain name registration made simple. It's clean. They don't upsell you on a bunch of stuff. They include Whois. Somebody said, oh, come on. Why would you want Whois privacy? That's something that the other guys charge you for. It's free with Hover. Because I like to use an actual email and phone number in case there are technical issues. I want my domain registrar to be able to reach me. So that's why I want to be able to use my actual information. And with built-in Whois privacy, you can and still be private. I think that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Hover just understands this. Oh, hey, I didn't know about this one. Juan Cabanela just tweeted me. He says, thanks for recommending hover.com. I stumbled across their Easter egg and got a free year. I don't know about that. He says it's the Buckaroo Banzai hold music. Find out. I don't know what that means. I do love Buckaroo Banzai, so there's something in there. You will not get put on hold, by the way, if you call during business hours, Monday through Friday. 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, they have a no-hold policy. Those other guys don't. And now, a new feature, free transfer concierge service. They used to charge $25 for this. If you hear this ad on TWiT, as you are, you get free domain transfer service no matter how many domains. So to make it easy for you to move over to Hover, normally they charge $25 for this, and believe me, it's worth $25. This is free now. Just call Hover, give them your username and password for the old account, the old guys, and they'll take it from there. They get the authorization codes, deal with the emails, and then they'll just say, you're on hover.com. They do charge you $10 for the transfer, but that gives you an additional year for your domain name. So that's a great deal. Hover.com. Let Hover handle the hassle with their domain name concierge service free if you mention TWiT, or just go to windows.hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and transfer made as simple as can be, and I guarantee you, you're going to love them. hover.com. Go to windows.hover.com. Take advantage of this deal right now.
You know who I cannot stand right now for this kind of thing is registered.com.
Oh, really? Tell me about them.
I have domains in various places because I'm just disorganized.
Yeah, I do too. I'm disorganized. I have Dotster, GoDaddy.
Yeah.
I
guess
do.
GoDaddy's like the worst website on earth, but the prices are okay, I guess. I'm
telling you, Hover. You want to see a big difference, go to Hover. You just check it out.
Well, so I apparently have someone register. I didn't know what register.com, but they call me because some are coming up for renewal, and they're freaking to get me to do this over the phone.
Love the upsell. Yep.
I keep telling them, I'm not going to do this on the phone. I have a computer, so I'll figure it out that way. Thanks for calling. And now they keep calling, and they call from different numbers.
Hate them.
And one actually came through as an international call.
Uh-huh.
And I keep asking them, stop calling my house. And so I went to look, and here's the thing. $25 a year, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's not expiring until next month.
So they're just really trying to get a little extra money out of you, that's all.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm telling you, Paul. Windows.hover.com. I'm just telling you. Don't.
Oh, look, there we are.
There we are. Why does Leo love Hover? We're not hot. We're not sexy. We don't drive fast. It must be our clean interface, simple tools, honest pricing, and outstanding customer service. You got it. Windows.hover.com. I'm just saying.
That's what I need right there. Pain reducing transfer.
And they don't call you. Will not call you and upsell you. They will not give you all that BS.
I'm going to log on to register.com
one
last time just to see what's there. And
look, they'll transfer it out of there for free. You don't, no more hassle. Just go to windows.hover.com and then just do it for free, and then you don't have to think about it. You won't, in a week or whatever it takes, sometimes it takes a little longer because these guys lock you in and stuff. You'll be done with them, and you'll never get any more of those calls. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I get them too. Okay, what is InTune? We talked about this before.
We did. I just realized we actually did talk about this, so maybe we don't have to spend too much time on this. It's basically the cloud-based PC management and security service. It's out now. So if you go to management.microsoft.com, you can get a 30-day trial, give it a shot. I guess the quickie version is that at $11 per PC per month, it's a little expensive for very small businesses, I think. But there are some interesting side uses for this service that I think will prove very compelling. So, for example, I think I mentioned last week on the podcast, some of Microsoft's really big customers, even though they have on-premises management servers, are using InTune for those machines that are never going to come into the corporate network.
Perfect.
Including personal laptops.
Perfect.
Including laptops of their executives, and their executives' families even.
Yeah, and you do have to manage those. You do have to manage those. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. The other thing is almost a support thing. You could do it for members of your family, and just to, you could almost be like the IT pro for your family. Just keep them up to date as well. That's kind of an interesting use. So.
Good idea.
In other words, is it worth $11 a month not to have your dad calling you about silly computer questions? Maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's now available. So it is manage.microsoft.com.
Cool. All right, so this AT&T mobile thing, I mean, on the face of it, it looks like it's good for T-Mobile. I don't know if it's good for T-Mobile customers. I'm a T-Mobile customer.
T-Mobile's a tough case because they're small, and depending on where you are, they're either a big deal or they're a complete non-event.
Yeah.
The one benefit they've offered to the industry, I guess, or to customers, is they're the one guy, the one semi-major player that's lowballing on pricing a bit. And that obviously will go away when you're a part of AT&T, I guess. So that's too bad. But I'm not really as negative on this as I think a lot of people have been. The stuff I've read is like, is this going to ruin choice in the United States? I mean, I think having three major carriers is roughly the situation in most major markets around the world. If you look at Europe or probably Asia, and I'm not as positive about Asia, but I think that's where it's at. Canada has three major carriers. I think that's just the way it is. I like the notion of these companies are on the same standard, so to speak. AT&T does not get a lot of credit, and I keep trying to remind people, they've really improved their service. And by service, I don't mean customer service. I mean the quality of the wireless service over time. And this will expand the network a bit for AT&T customers, so that might be good from that perspective. T-Mobile was a company in the United States anyway that wasn't going to be getting the iPhone anytime soon, so this gets them in there. It could be bad news for Sprint, because Sprint's now the one company that won't have the iPhone. But I think overall it makes sense. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think it may benefit people ultimately. One of the weird deals about wireless networks is if I am in the United States and I'm an AT&T customer, and I'm in some state where T-Mobile for some reason has a superior network strength and whatever, my phone won't connect to that, right? It just won't. Typically, if I bought the phone from AT&T. But if I go to Europe, like I just did, I'm in France, there's not one preferred network that I connect to. I connect to the network that has the best signal. That's the way that works. Now, you pay extra for that and all that, but that's the way things work. It works vice versa as well. If I was a customer in France and went, within France, I wouldn't be able to connect to those other networks. And that's something I noticed with my friends. They would be on whatever network they're on, and I would be able to, I always connected to whatever the best network was, So this gives you that effect in a way, it expands the possible points you can connect to, and thus you should always have a better, or well, not always, but you will generally have a better signal, hopefully, because of this. So I mean, I think for AT&T users and for the combined user base of AT&T and T-Mobile, from that perspective, it's a good thing. But we'll have to see on the pricing, I guess. I would expect pricing to go up for T-Mobile users.
Oh, I guarantee you. And they do things like free tethering and stuff that's just going to go away because they were the little guy.
Sure. I think free tethering as a thing would have gone away anyway, but yeah. Yep.
Free tethering.
Free tethering.
Who needs free tethering?
You and your socialist ideas.
I love T-Mobile pricing, and but what's interesting is Sprint's going to take up the slack there because they're not going to get acquired. It looks like so they will be the little
except
guy
for what, so there's one problem with Sprint. Sprint's not very big.
And they're not GSM.
As the rest of the world, and they're not on GSM. So as the rest of the world sort of rallies around LTE,
right? Sprint's going to go LTE, I think.
Okay, but they're still Sprint. So they're small. I mean,
right.
It's sort of like in the Boston area, you have these heavyweight cable and telecommunications companies from which you can get all this this package access. Fios and Comcast, and then you have these little regional things like RCN. And there's nothing wrong with RCN, but Sprint is RCN. It's not one of the big guys, and that's an attraction for some people, no doubt about it. But it's also a little bit of a problem maybe when you're traveling and so forth. So. They become the little runt of the litter at this point, which is too bad.
Well, we need a runt because the runts are the ones who try harder. You remember the old Avis rent-a-car?
Yeah.
We're number two. We try harder. Those are the guys who have to be aggressive in pricing, and they're even more runty now.
They're the runt of the big litter.
Now more runty.
Right now with more runtiness. There are additional wireless carriers around the country, Metro PCS and regional and local carriers and all that. So I mean, it's not like there aren't other choices. It's just that for the people that need to or want to travel, business travelers, for example. I mean, everyone knows you get Verizon because Verizon works the best in most places. That's always been the case. It was one of the big things you had to do as to become an iPhone user was just give that up. It was hard. I mean, that was one of the tougher things about moving to the iPhone was having to deal with AT&T, especially that first year or two.
Yes.
Yes. I think, the jury's out. We'll see. I do expect it to be passed, I guess I would say. I
think so. But I hope that and this is what the conclusion we've come to on most of our shows, we hope that the FCC uses this as an opportunity to extract some net neutrality requirements at AT&T.
Yeah. Yep.
Some support for rural
There'll
users.
be a grandfather clause. They'll be able to continue with their existing level of service, with their existing pay level for some amount of time and all that stuff too, I'm sure.
Right. Let's see here. Why don't we take a break? Then we've got the app of the week. We've got the for both Windows and Windows Phone 7, and a mobile app pick, all of which we've already talked about. So really, there's really no reason to stay tuned.
I would in fact, I'm leaving myself, so you have a good time.
It'll just be me.
It's good. It was good talking to you.
No, stay. Don't stay. There'll be some
I've
fun.
enjoyed
There'll be
this.
some
I've enjoyed
humor.
our time.
There'll be some good stuff. I promise you. We're not done with the good stuff yet. But in fact, this is one of them. FreshBooks. Have I talked to you about FreshBooks before? FreshBooks,
sure.
Awesome. Do you invoice? If anybody invoices out there, and I did for a long time. Now I have people. Before I had people, I had FreshBooks. It's like having people. I used to hate invoicing. You know, I'd fire up Microsoft Word and then type it in and do the addition and all that stuff. And I hated it so much I would invoice late, sometimes 9 months late. Boy, that was hard to get money out of those people. Invoicing promptly using something like FreshBooks makes it more likely you'll get paid. In fact, FreshBooks is great because it's an email invoice. They will do a printed invoice for additional fee. They'll print, stamp, and mail it for you. I always did that for some. You know, the old-fashioned customers make sure they always have a paper invoice. But I like the email invoice because there's a button on it that says pay this guy. And they can pay by a credit card or 11 other payment methods, including PayPal, Authorize.net, First Data, Transact, all of these. And they can even set up automatic payments, which I love. So what you really want to do is get your clients to say, yeah, just pay this automatically, auto bill it. Believe it or not, your clients like that. It just takes one less thing for them to think about, and it's one more thing that gets you paid fast. According to FreshBooks users, they did a survey. They get paid on the average of 2 weeks faster than they used to because of FreshBooks. And should you have somebody who's slow to pay, automated late payment reminders, you set the, how long and how often, which makes it really much more likely you're going to get paid. They've got an iPhone app. It's called Mini Books. What's nice about this, you can manage clients, send invoices, run timers too. So if you do billing by hour, this free app, Mini Books, will automatically track that, and then you press send, and it puts it right in an invoice. And you can even do the invoice right from your iPhone. I love this. It's just pretty amazing. These guys have got it down. That's why 2 million people have used FreshBooks since they started in 2004. You could be one of them. Free. Go to freshbooks.com. Your first 3 clients are absolutely free. It takes you about a minute to set it up. They've got all the bells and whistles. There's add-ons. There's an API and so forth. Very simple to use. I want you to try it. Freshbooks.com. They are having a drawing every day this month for a birthday cake among their new customers, so make sure you get in there now. Freshbooks.com. Do you invoice, Paul?
Infrequently. I actually sent this to my wife, by the way. She has to invoice.
Oh, trust me. I mean, I use this for years, and I love it. It's very Web 2.0, very simple. So
most of what I do is free, so it's not really a cause to invoice.
Now that we could fix too.
I'm kind of a charity of sorts.
Well, we pay you, but you don't invoice us. We just send it to you automatically.
No.
Yeah, and you know why? Because I hate invoicing so much.
Yeah.
I just from day one, I always said, look, I'm just going to pay you guys. You don't have to worry about it.
Checks are always appreciated.
It's fun too when you haven't invoiced it, but you just get a check in the mail. That's nice.
It's the best.
But good luck convincing other clients to do that. Hey guys, just send me money.
How excited I am every time I get a check, but they don't seem moved by this. I don't know why.
I can't understand it.
Yeah.
Just don't get it. So I guess we really said what the Windows 7 app of the week is.
Yeah, I really kind of mailed this weekend. You got to understand that you just flew over from France.
I've been in France.
But
even if you hadn't, I would agree with you.
Okay. So I last week I raised the possibility of doing a sort of a general mobile app pick that was related to Windows, and I got a lot of very positive feedback about that. So thank you to everyone. I will be doing that this week. I sort of threw in a mobile app pick that really doesn't meet that criteria, but it's just because it happened this week, and I think it's a big deal. So if you have Android, I really do feel like you should get this Amazon App Store and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It doesn't mean you can't use the marketplace. You do have to go through your Android settings and say, accept applications from third parties. I mean, it's complicated.
Yeah. But the reason I love it so much is that sitting in front of your PC or Mac or whatever on the general web, you can now browse the Amazon website and have this stuff sent to your phone automatically. And you still have to install it, but it comes up in your queue.
You could always do that with Android. Not always, but the Android marketplace does that as well.
Okay, I know, but it's the Amazon market, so it's
right. So you get both.
Again, it's much easier to find good apps than most.
This is how apps should be installed. You do it on the web. You say send this to the phone, and it's there.
Yeah. I mean, you should be able to do it both ways, obviously, but it's just a nice thing. So, looking forward, I've got some interesting feedback from people who had ideas for things like remote desktop from various mobile platforms and all. So we'll have some good Windows-oriented mobile app picks in the future. So that's coming next week, but. yeah, the Windows 7 app of the week is Firefox 4. That was just came out this week, and definitely something you should check out. And then the Windows Phone 7 app of the week is for IMDb, which actually coincidentally, and it is coincidental, is owned by Amazon, right? Which is kind of interesting. This is another one of those apps. It's an unfortunate truth of for a new platform that a lot of the apps I'm going to be recommending for Windows Phone. If you had an iPhone or an Android phone for a while, you're probably thinking, "Oh, big deal. You know, I've had this forever." But it's nice to see some of this stuff show up in Windows Phone. And of course, one of the advantages of Windows Phone is just that Metro UI, so you get that kind of Metro look and feel. And for whatever it's worth, IMDb, which is, if you're not familiar with it, started as a website for information about movies, and they expanded into TV shows, and they further expanded, and maybe since Amazon bought them, to kind of a general information site. You know, so when you're out and about with a phone, there are some things that are specific to a mobile device that are very handy, which is it will use your location to find movie times for local theaters and so forth. So I use it fairly regularly. I rip a lot of DVDs, and IMDb is the place where I go to find, you know, the date the movie came out, the category, you know, thriller, action, and adventure, whatever. And then the lead actor. So this information will appear in iTunes and in all those devices inside the Zune, by the way, as well. And the album art, you can get it in there and all that stuff. So it's just it's a resource I actually use all the time. And the Windows Phone version is a particularly nice rendition of that. So
I love IMDb. I mean, you can always go to the website, but it's nice to have the app.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think that for the mobile versions of IMDb, they've done a nice job of making it relevant when you're out and about. So it's not just about like sitting there reading about, oh, I wonder who's in the movie. It's you know, finding, okay, I know there's this movie I want to see, and then this is one of those places you can go to find out when it's playing in your area and so forth. It's nice.
Is Flickster on Windows Phone yet?
I don't know, but
Flickster is a really great iPhone and app that
is it Flickster like CK or
X FLIX.
Let's find out. I'll use the awesome search.
I'm sure that
Flickster.
Oh, like there's a song named Flick Hinging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like Flickster is on Windows Phone 7. That's a great one too. I'll let you have that for next week.
I will check that out, sir.
And I won't tell you.
Yeah, there's a Movies by Flickster.
So that's it.
Oh, and it is from the company. Okay, yeah. I'll look for that. Yeah, I'll look at that. I should say.
You know, it's ad driven, but it's just, I think that's what I use all the time to find out what's showing.
I've noticed, and I've noticed this in all three platforms lately. Mobile ads are becoming more common.
Oh yes,
and you probably noticed. You have to have noticed this if you've seen them. I've seen this on Windows Phone. I've seen it on Android, and I've seen it on iOS, where you bring up an app and there's an ad at the bottom, and that ad renders first, and there's kind of like a hole sitting there. The app doesn't come up. Then the ad finally renders, and then the app comes up.
It's like the web.
Oh, I hate that.
I know. It's because they're coming from different servers, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's the way I kind of viewed it. It was
it's different. It's almost two different pages.
Which is okay on a wired connection with a 25 megabit download, but when you're out on the AT&T or whatever, it's like, really? I have to see a Nissan Leaf commercial so I can, you know, play the Angry Birds or whatever.
Well, you get free. That way you get free stuff. What really bugs me is when you have to pay for a product and there's ads. Because it's like, but everybody's doing that now too. I guess that's all right.
Yeah, we never talked about this New York Times thing. I've had a New York Times / newspaper article brewing for a long, long time, and the recent news that the New York Times had about what its convoluted plan is.
I just got an email from them.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a New York Times subscription since at least 10 years now, and we went from paper to the Kindle. But now I'm looking at these offerings, and we'll have to see on the 28th they're going to have promotional pricing, and when they do that, I'm going to have to evaluate whether it makes sense to, you know, switch to their tablet subscription or whatever. And you know, I don't know.
Well, I get as long as you get a paper, and I only get the Sunday paper. I don't get Monday any paper you get free.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, because if you get the daily paper, it costs like $700 or $800 a year.
Right,
it's very expensive.
You shouldn't have to pay for the digital version. Expensive.
So I didn't realize that. It might be worth it just to get the Sunday paper.
That's what I do.
Just to get, okay. That's good advice, by the way.
Still not cheap.
No, but that's a good tip.
Yeah.
I will look at that.
Yeah. I think, because I like the Sunday paper, although I don't ever get to read it, but my family likes, you know, having the magazine and have, you know.
This will be their one day of the week to have newsprint.
Right.
on your hands.
It's the one day you have some time, you're in bed, you're having breakfast in bed or whatever, you go out or whatever. It's nice to have that paper to read. And frankly, it'll keep you busy all week long if you really want to read it, the crossword puzzle and all that stuff. Yeah. It's a lot there.
I miss those days. We were always big Sunday newspaper readers. I have to say, as good as the Kindle is.
No, that's the one time.
The Sunday New York Times is not the same experience on the Kindle.
That's the one time you really want the paper. And then Monday through Saturday, do it on your device, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure they think it's fine, too, because that keeps both business models alive, right? This starts tomorrow or the next day, I think.
It's very soon.
Yeah.
It might be Monday.
It might be Monday. Actually, that would make sense. It's the 28th. I think that is the right. But I got an email from the New York Times saying, because you're a subscriber, don't worry.
Okay, so I would want to verify this, but yes, that's it looks like it's okay.
It says important notice about your New York Times subscription.
So oops, let me do the math here.
Starting March 28th.
It'd be $195 a year
for the Sunday.
For just Sunday, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't have my document. I actually wrote it. I made a document to see what all the different offerings would cost. I think the tablet one came out to about $245.
So this would be cheaper.
I believe so.
Yeah, it was expensive. They were charging a lot. Now remember, you get the first 5 hits free. I mean, there's a
no. I read it every day. I'm not looking to go to their web page or their website. I mean, I do that occasionally, but this is for reading the paper every day. I read the paper every day. So right now I do it on a Kindle, but if I can. The problem with the Kindle is in a weird.
Wait a minute. Does not include e-reader editions. So it would be the iPad and iPhone, Windows Phone 7, that mobile editions.
Right. The Kindle and Nook are not included in this right now.
No.
But they will be. They just haven't figured that out yet. The problem is, as a subscriber, when I was a New York Times paper subscriber, I was something to them. I was an entity. They knew what I was.
Yes.
When you're a Kindle subscriber,
they have no idea.
You don't exist.
Because Amazon doesn't tell them.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And I think that's something that's going to change. Well, they said it's going to change. So I'll see. We don't know. We don't know where that's going to go.
That's probably conditional on Amazon.
Well, they've slowly jacked the price on the Kindle version, and if I'm not mistaken, the Kindle subscription works out to be the same as it would cost on the iPad or the Times Reader, and this is very hard to find, that Google Chrome app, which is now free, is going to fall into this category as well, and it won't be free.
Yeah.
Because that thing is just as nice as their other digital editions. It's
beautiful.
I
just pulled up the New York Times on my computer. I can't show you because it's blacked out. And I'm just seeing a nonstop ad. Go to NYTimes.com.
I know. I did. I just did.
Full screen takeover, nonstop ad for a Broadway show, which I can't see because I'm in California.
Yes. And I have to say, having gone to the New York Times website probably every day, that's the first time I've ever seen an ad like that.
Yeah. Well, that
takeover is... the iPad app, you're scrolling through a story. All of a sudden, a screen pops up, and it's a full screen ad for Swan, or Swan Lake, or whatever that movie was. Or
this is a Broadway play, so this is the perfect example of a ad that is of really no use to me.
Right.
And they're forcing me to see it. There doesn't seem to be any way to get around it.
So you're not paying for the website, although. Actually, as a subscriber, if you're
I am, and I'm logged in as a subscriber, so
yeah, you shouldn't see that.
Or maybe they should just have a box that says, "Okay, I really don't want to see that."
Before anyone points this out, yes, we know that the paper version has ads. We get it. The thing is, to distribute an electronic version of this thing, which is some number of kilobytes, is a significantly less expensive endeavor than delivering a stack of paper to my house. I used to work in newspapers, and I always was amazed at this business, which at the time was run by children. The last mile was always some kid with his bike. What a bizarre, kind of business, isn't it? I mean, it's just so strange.
It is a little bit weird, and
it's weird.
Part of this is that we are going through a transition.
Yes.
And it's they're struggling with their business model. Nobody wants the New York Times to go away. I don't think. I would hope.
Of course not.
We need journalism, and it's not free. So we
Sure. Oh no, right. And by the way, even on local news programs or national news programs, news networks, the quality of and scope of reporting has gone down dramatically. And New York Times is one of the last vestiges of that kind of old school original reporting stuff. Not that they haven't, slid as well, but we live in a world of blogs and sound bites, and everyone has an opinion. But I mean, I've been pretty happy.
Well, and what's neat about the Times is they're getting the interactive stuff that they do now on their pages, that's unique to the web, is actually quite good. I think that they've done some really nice stuff.
Although, compared to like that Chrome app or the iPad app, you have to look at the New York Times website and think this could, in fact, be nicer.
Right.
It's almost like they've kept it kind of old school web.
Right.
On purpose. Right. I mean, and maybe now, maybe that they're going to start charging for it. Maybe that changes too. I don't know.
They're doing video now. We talked to them about doing video, but they decided to do it themselves. Well, anyway, it's an interesting world we live in.
It is indeed.
Paul Thurrott is the editor-in-chief of a great site. If you're a Windows user or you want to understand Windows or you want the inside story, SuperSite.com, the SuperSite for Windows. He is also a news editor for Windows IT Pro. There's the Windows SuperSite. Let me pull that up there. Mr. Paul Thurrott. Nice picture there right on the front there. Hey, look, speaking of big ads at the front, but see, I can click it right here. Bye-bye.
You can't say goodbye.
Yeah, so that's fine. I don't mind. I understand. Look, we have ads too. I understand. You got to pay for.
I used to be freaked by those kind of things, and I used to complain about it. But then we had a couple of years there where ad sales kind of fell through the floor. And so when I see like an ad like that on my site now, I don't want to say I get excited necessarily, but I'm more okay with it than I used to be.
Well, there's revenue there.
Yeah.
We get excited. I get excited. I know my hosts do when we have 3 ads in a show. We never do more than 1 ad every half hour. But when we have 3 ads, that is, you're sold out. I know everybody goes, yeah. And when we have 1 ad, it's like, ooh.
What did I do?
So
was it that Windows Phone thing? I'm sorry.
It's not that we want to subject people to pain. In fact, we try to pick advertisers. That's why I don't do ads for Broadway shows.
It's not like laundry products.
Right.
Or,
we try to do ads for stuff you might conceivably be interested in finding out about. But look, this stuff has to be paid for. These stuff are free. These things are free. And also, I don't begrudge the New York Times. In fact, I want them to succeed. That's, I guess, what I'm saying is
I do too.
I want this model to work for them. Maybe it's not the best model, but we'll see. Paul Thurrott, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. We do the show normally. We're doing it at a different time today, but normally we do it Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv. Tune in and watch live or download it. It's on iTunes, the Zune Marketplace, everywhere better podcasts are, even that Android thing.
I hear it's a big deal with the kids.
Hey, the kids love it. But you can get it. You can subscribe, get it automatically. Androids, the Google Listen program will do that. Stitcher will do that. A number of programs that'll do that to get you automatically, so you always have it on your device and listen whenever you like. And there's video for this as well as audio, so you can even choose whether you want to see me and Paul or not. We sound better than we look.
And wow, that's not saying much, but yes.
No, I
agree with that.
I think that's true of all our shows. That we started as audio, and so we always kind of pay a lot of attention to the audio.
Then the video comes on, and it's like, whoa, what happened there?
Ow.
Yeah.
Ooh, that hurts. No, it's not that bad.
I understand why you started with audio.
We do video. I never thought anybody would want video of 2 guys talking.
I know.
But we do video because people asked for it, and you know what? It's about now 25% of the downloads are video. People want video.
I'm sorry. I feel like I should be doing more. Should I wear funny hats or something?
I do. God knows I do. I'm all about the hats.
Oh, well.
Paul, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.